Thank you.
Great. May I have a motion to reconvene the regular meeting of the Proviso Township High School Board of Education? Second. Jenna, please call the roll.
Mr. Alexander, absent. Mrs. Hickson?
Aye.
Mr. Ocampo?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson?
Aye.
Ms. Grant?
Aye.
Mr. Belteros?
Aye.
Ms. Barban? Aye. Motion carried. We are in open session at 7:30 p.m.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jenna, can you please read the vision statement? In accordance with Board Policy 2230, we should call this in for 5 minutes. We believe that all participants in the meeting desire the best outcomes for our students, families, and communities. As a reminder, this meeting is being live streamed and will also be archived and available on the district website. Thank you.
First, we have Sandra Joseph Hickson.
Good evening, everyone. I was deeply disturbed by comments made publicly by an employee at the last school board meeting. As school board members, we are to be respected. There needs to be a frank discussion on how we address each other as school board members, and more importantly, how district employees should be addressing us. I am to be addressed as Mrs. Hickson, period. I take my oath of office seriously. That being said, the public has a right to know what is going on with the superintendent search. In my opinion, the search was rushed, done haphazardly, flawed, and highly unethical. My journey in searching for a new superintendent ended on October 4th after an updated list was sent to the Board of Education members and a candidate's name appeared on the list. The problem, the candidate was not a part of the current process or the original list. As a board member, I am embarrassed that such a simple obligation could not be filled with integrity. I suggest letting the new board members who will be elected in April choose the new superintendent and define a clear vision for where they want to see School District 209.
Thank you, Ms. Hickson.
Mayor Nathaniel Booker.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Definitely concur with Mrs. Hickson. For me, being the mayor of the village of Maywood has been quite the journey. One of the biggest things that we deal with is we've had a reduction in crime. We've built new housing. We have people moving back into the community. We're building in economic development, but the biggest piece that families talk about is the school district and the disarray that the school district is in. So yes, I do work with 209. I do work with 89, and we have the after-school programs. I do everything that we possibly can do from another governing body standpoint. To understand that you guys have Mr. Mohip back as a candidate after the community said no and you guys even said no is offensive. The man's been interviewing for 2 years. He's interviewed since he's been here in Louisiana, in Pennsylvania, and in Indiana. They all said no. So I do not understand how this board can sit there and allow a person who was not part of the process to be reintroduced without notification to even be considered. The man has been interviewing for 2 years. He interviewed all summer long. Nobody wanted him. How do we say we want him? When we sit there and we say we want to do what's best for the kids, what's best for the community, what's best for the families, I can say without a doubt, there's one candidate that I know. I met him 2 months ago. We were part of the Erickson Institute together. That man is 10 times more qualified than Mohip, but he happens to be Black. I would say in the last process, you had 3 candidates that you didn't select. 2 of them happened to be Black. You have other candidates that you considered that happen to be black. But the only person that you could find is the man that's not black, that's less qualified than multiple of the candidates that you guys have seen. This is crazy. I can't call it anything but racial and political. There's going to be no candidate that this board, right now as it is going to pick that's not going to be a 4-3, no 5-2 vote out of this situation at all. So I concur. Realistically, y'all are 6 months away from an election. Let the process drag itself out. Interview, submit more candidates when it's time for the election to be done, because realistically, we might get better candidates to apply that don't have to look at the show that goes on from this board. But to sit there and pick somebody who has been interviewing for 2 years and has been told no 3 times since he left this community. And that's just what I know of personally. I don't know if the man been interviewing more, but the man can't find a job and we just gonna give him one after we said no? And you're gonna set us up for a lawsuit because he was not a part of the process.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jay Chase?
Good evening, board. I just have a question, which I know you don't have to answer, but I come to these meetings fairly regularly, and I was just wondering, do each of the principals have a duty and responsibility to be at these meetings? And there was a time when I came to these meetings and principals gave reports, so we knew what was going on at the individual schools. I don't hear any reports, so my question is, it really makes me feel good as a community member when I see a principal present, because it tells me that they're interested in serving the community. And secondarily, I would love to hear reports from the principals, because we hear so much rumor control about what's going on in the schools, and sometimes there's so much good stuff going on in the schools that we never hear about. So that's my comment, and I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Howard Ray?
Good evening, board.
Good evening.
Give me it right.
Yes, mostly I have a question. I heard that Mr. Mohip is coming back, and my question to you is, now, I know as a community, we elected you to represent us, the community, the community. And the community have said in the past, no to Mr. Mohip. Now, my question to you, are you gonna do what the community elected you to do, and that is to represent the community? Are you gonna do something that you so desire? Now, I know nothing about Mr. Mohip, but the fact is, I know the community have said no. And for you to come back, bring him here, and put him on anyway, to me, makes no sense. So my question to you, are you gonna listen to the community? Are you gonna go against the community? That's my question. Thank you.
Thanks, Ray.
Next is Grace Schmidt.
I would like to request the full 5 minutes if that's available.
You got emails.
What
The
did,
email before the meeting.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
For next time.
all right, I got some things I gotta cut out. I am here as Diego's visual arts teacher, and I'd like to speak on his behalf. I am not in favor of his expulsion. I wanted to talk a little bit about a theory called post-traumatic growth that was developed by psychologists Richard Tedeschi and Lawrence Calhoun, that talks about people who endure traumatic experiences. I know there are several sides of this, but nevertheless, it was a traumatic experience for everybody involved, those students. And the theory holds that there can be a greater resilience following that experience if the person has opportunity to grow beyond it. And those areas are appreciation of life, relationship with others, new possibilities in life, personal strength and spiritual change. When an educational system allows for the use of redemptive practices, such as the use of restorative justice in their discipline models, they are upholding the desire for and the opportunity for the very best outcomes to still take place, even though we cannot erase the events of the past. For those unfamiliar with restorative justice practices, its principles are relationship, respect, the worthiness of human dignity even through bad choices, responsibility, repair, which includes growth and mending, and reintegration. I do want to see how far into this I can read. I have some short excerpts from the National Education Association that talk about the efficacy of restorative practices in schools. It says that they are fairer and more inclusive, more effective, and let's see if I can skim through this. They focus on building relationships. In the 13-14 school year, CPS began implementing restorative programs in middle schools and high schools across the district. They found that a staggering 35% in reduction in student arrests, 15% reduction in out-of-school student arrests, decline in arrests for both violent and non-violent offenses, and then also improve student perceptions of school climate through the restorative practices. The final bit of excerpt talks about, again from the NEA, it states that the zero tolerance policy of suspensions and expulsions actually do more harm than good. Let's see. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next is Patricia Powell.
Good evening, board.
Good evening.
I come to you on behalf of, the fact is, I was rejected of working overtime in buildings over this past weekend. And to me, that's age discrimination. Because once again, I am a 19-year vet. I have every right to work overtime in either buildings. I choose to work at West specifically because I still know the kids at West. It's nothing against these, but right now, I have done everything that I possibly can to keep my cool, because at the end of the day, I'm a single parent and I still have kids in school that I need to get through school. And to me, I feel like that was rejection of my overtime pay to help me keep my kids going the way they need to go. 2, also, I found out today that starting pay for new incoming in security is $21 an hour. Once again, 19 years, and I'm only making $24.63 an hour. How is that possible? I just don't understand how I have dedicated so much time to this school. I have never missed a day. Haven't missed a day in 3 years, to be exact. Was here every day, on time. Matter of fact, an hour early, because I'm in the parking lot at 6 o'clock in the morning, faithfully. At the end of the day, I respect everybody, and I expect everybody to respect me. Maybe because I walk around with a chip on my shoulder, because once again, I've been here 19 years. I still have a good relationship with everybody in every building. People who have not worked with me before can judge me, and I don't like that. They don't have any right to judge me because they don't know me. They go off of what they've heard. Get to know somebody first before you can take away. And I appreciate this time, but I just want you all to know that we're going to have a bigger problem if they start denying us people who work here at PMSA who don't get very much overtime. And we like to step out sometimes and go to other schools to do overtime. So I really wish that, we could put a zip on that before it gets worse. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes public comment.
Great. Next up, we have reports and communications from the interim superintendent. Mr. Asher, we have the floor.
Good evening, Board, President Altieri, Vice President Mrs. Hicks, Secretary Barbahan, and board members, community. Thank you all for being here. For starting our report here, we're going to start with Dr. Hill, our chief school business official, to give a financial update on the district. Dr. Hill.
Thank you. Good evening, board members.
Step class.
Oh my goodness, I feel like I'm at home. Okay. I feel like I'm at home. Sorry, my husband is 6'3", you guys. So there are like ladders everywhere. Okay, let me get back to business. This evening, this season is tax levy season. So I wanted Proviso District 209 to jump ahead of that, as opposed to presenting the tentative levy in November and then present it for approval in December. I decided it was best for us to present the estimated tax levy in October, get approved in November, and then we will be ahead of the game. So at this time, I would present Dr. Rob Grossi, who will present our estimated tax levy for this year. I will bring him up at this time.
Now what do I do? Good evening, board. So tonight, I'll be presenting the tentative tax levy. This is just as an informational item, and the Board of Education will be asked to approve the tax levy at the November board meeting. So again, tonight, we have to provide the tax levy to the board at least 20 days before the final approval. And then at your November 12th meeting, the Board of Education will be asked to approve the final levy. And then Deborah has until the last Tuesday in December to file the tax levy with Cook County. When the school district is filing the tax levy, they need to look at the amount of money they need or request under kind of three lenses. One is how the tax levy will it provide enough funds to address long-term financial condition of the district? Will it provide enough funds to provide the quality of educational services desired in the district? And will it allow the district to have enough resources to invest and maintain its facilities? In Cook County and all counties in Illinois that are capped, that are tax capped counties, the maximum amount of growth a school district could have without going to referendum is CPI, the rate of inflation for the calendar year that most recently ended. So for this tax levy that the board's going to be asked to consider next month, the rate of inflation for the calendar year ending December 31st, 2023 was 3.4%. So the last 2 years, the tax levy was 5%, which was the maximum allowable, because it's CPI or 5%, whichever's less. This year is 3.4%. And then just as an informational piece right now, inflation for the following year is trending more towards 2.5%. The historical average of CPI since tax cap started is approximately 2.4%. In Proviso District 209, roughly 2/3 of the district's revenues come from real estate taxes. So the district, because it does not receive a significant amount of money from the federal and state government, is just like many school districts, is forced to rely on real estate taxes to fund operations. So the approval of the tax levy is a very important source of revenues and an important source of growth, so the district could continue to provide and maintain the quality of services it provides. The recommended tax levy for 2024 totals 3.4% above the prior year extension. So The breakdown of the levy, I'll just read it real quick. IMRFs and Social Security, $500,000. And the allocation of the levy is based off of need and where fund balances currently are. Liability insurance fund, $5,000. Transportation fund, $4.5 million. Most of the money goes into the education fund, almost $58 million. The operations and maintenance fund, $12 million. Working cash, $500,000. And fire prevention, $5,000. A new requirement that just came into law is that all school districts in Illinois must report their last 3 years' operating fund expenditures and compare it to their fund balance reserves. If a school district is over 2.5 times, if their fund balances are over 2.5 times their average expenditures, then they have to report to ISB and how they're going to draw down fund balance reserves. In Proviso, the 3-year average expenditures in your operating funds, which are education, operations and maintenance, and transportation, the average is $88.5 million, roughly. Unaudited fund balances for those 3 funds was roughly $37,986,000. So the ratio of fund balance to average expenditures is 42.89%. So the district roughly has in the operating fund about 6 months worth of fund balance reserves. Again, this is something that needs to be reported in writing once a year to the public and school board. So with that, I'll entertain any questions or conclude.
Yes, I have a question. So going back to the breakdown of revenues, if you could go back to that slide.
Mm-hmm.
So 2/3 of our revenues is sourced from property taxes. What could we do as a district to offset that so that more of our funding comes from state or federal sources?
So that's a great question. So the amount of money school districts get in state and federal monies almost exclusively is due to 2 factors. The makeup of the students, what percentage of low-income students are in the school district, what percentage of English language learner students are in the district. And then they also look at the property wealth within the district, how much property wealth per pupil are in the district. So in South Cook County, there are school districts that have 90, 100% low income, and they have no commercial industrial property. In those districts, they get a significant amount of money from the state, and they get significant growth since evidence-based funding formula came into place 7 years ago. So they're seeing significant growth in their state and federal taxes and revenues. On the opposite side, some of the more affluent areas, a district that I was at last week, they get 80% of the money from real estate taxes. And that's because they have almost no low-income students, and they have a very wealthy tax base. That's pretty much the highest, 80%. Your district is more on the higher end. So again, most of the grants are Title I grants. The last couple of years, you received COVID grants, ESSER and federal grants. That helped, but those have dried up, and are no longer. As of about now, districts have to spend that money and receive the money. So school districts keep looking for grant opportunities, but the reality is that almost all grants are formula driven, and I know that the grants that do come available through the Illinois State Board of Education and the federal government that flow through the business office, Deborah's applying for, and you get them either because you qualify or you don't. So, and then the districts that look at things like Rockefeller grants, grants from Gates Foundation and things like that, those generally go to the school districts that are extremely poor communities.
Thank you.
The other thing that I would just care to mention through conversations with Dr. Hill and the entire business office that we've discussed but haven't brought anything to the board because we're always looking for additional revenue. I know, Dr. Hill. So something worth just mentioning now because it was brought up as far as other local funds looking at when the registration fees. So looking at years past and the trend of what income we were collecting or revenue we were collecting as far as registration fees, even summer school registration fees. We've gotten away from that since COVID, but it's something that we've at least had a discussion as far as a potential revenue service to look at to bring additional dollars in that we have not done in years past. Thank you.
Yeah, the grant, and the grants that come, like, there's a construction grant at the state, they notify all school districts to, you know, there's not a lot of hidden money. And then there's an application process, people have to file by a certain date, and then you find out if you get it or not. And a lot of your grants are reimbursement driven. Special education, you get reimbursed a certain percentage of your special education costs, transportation costs, food service costs. Most of that stuff is reimbursed for expenditures that qualify for reimbursement. Thank you very much.
At this time, we will discuss the treasurer's report. There was just conversation about revenue. So if you have your treasurer's report in front of you for the month of September, 3 months unaudited, we have brought in 37% of our proposed revenue for this year. So we're moving right along in reference to that. Federal and state sources, resources that came in for the last couple of months, came in at about $8 million. So that's going along well. Also, for our expenditures, right now, our budget was at $120 million, and we have expended 23% of that budget thus far, so we are on track. Are there any questions in reference to the treasurer's report? Last but not least is the bill list. It's pretty hefty this month. Are there any questions regarding the bill list? Okay.
One question, Dr.
Yes.
Staples Technology Solutions, is that related to Staples, the?
Yes, that's their technology component. There's a technology division. Laptops, that's correct. Mm-hmm. If there aren't any other questions, next up we have the action item for this evening, which is the hiring of a financial consultant for this coming fiscal year. Dr. Grossi, who just presented the tax levy, provided us assistance in reference to that, and that is listed as an action item today, along with the approval of the bill list. If there aren't any other questions, that's all I have for today.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I know recently we put one of our board members as part of a board for the Proviso Township. What was it?
The treasurer's office.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any information that you might need from him, or do you guys attend those meetings as well?
No, since I'm not on the board, I don't attend those meetings. But I did share with the interim superintendent if there are any questions or information that's presented to just share with me, just to keep me abreast of what's going on. And then if there's assistance that's needed from the business office, we will support.
Dr. We'll be in touch.
Yes, I appreciate that. Thank you. That's all I have at this time. Thank you, Mr. Bennett, for this step stool.
All right, so next, quickly, board wanted to just make sure and bring it to everyone's attention that October is National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So what you'll see coming from the Technology Department office under Mr. Swanson, our Director of Information Technology, is just kind of little bits and information around this to, again, increase everyone's awareness. So you'll see kind of tiny little updates and things just to kind of, again, making it aware during this month of October. The next series of slides that you're going to see is just kind of updating the board. Each of our principals who are here today, thank you, that we have designed our school improvement plans around 3 primary goals. One of those goals is around academics, as it should be, being an institution of education. The second goal is around improving our attendance, and the third is around MTSS. Around that MTSS, the first couple slides that you're going to see here are around what we call our actions versus behaviors. So again, there are a number of actions and behaviors within our incident management platform. These were the 3 highest instances of actions, just as a kind of, again, glossing over as far as the number of in-school suspensions or reset room instances that are occurring, the number of out-of-school suspensions, and the number of parent meetings.
So you're saying at Proviso East, they've only had the 63 or 68 incident?
No.
Is that in school? I can't be able to.
So yes, that first number for Proviso East is the number of in-school suspension actions. That's 63. So that's just that number. That's not saying there's only been 63 behaviors that have warranted an in-school suspension or at East, there's 63 that were given an in-school suspension as a result of student behavior. And one thing we're looking at around that MTSS lens, and that is an information item last meeting, was ensuring that we've got a calibration as far as what warrants this specific action given based on the behavior of that student. So that's something that we are paying attention to as far as does that behavior fit the crime, if you will, of what action is given.
So there's 77 out of school suspension for East, 48 for West, right? Is that what you're
Yes,
saying?
ma'am.
Does that include students that have been suspended more than 10 days?
So yeah, yes, you have had students suspended for 10 days. This is for instance, on that, if Alex Ashoff was given a 10-day suspension, that would be one of those 77 for Proviso East or one of those 48 for Proviso West.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So am I reading this correctly? At Proviso West, we only had 5? I'm just trying to figure it out. I've been at Proviso West. So we only had 5.
That is what is reported in our incident managed system, and that is one thing that we are looking at closely, for instance, on that out-of-school suspension side, and same thing within school, of taking a look at, on the data side, if you look at the attendance, so a student is marked as in-school suspension or out of school, on the attendance, do the number of instances of that action match what's in incident management? We are seeing that there is a correlation. So for instance, when I looked at it, for instance, we're picking on East, sorry, Mr. Hull, but at the time it was 60, I think, on the out-of-school suspension that I looked at, that there were also 60 instances of students on the attendance side that had marked out-of-school suspension, and then trying to look at that overlap between the number of students on both sides, like if you think of a Venn diagram, did they match? So we're just trying to make sure that we are indeed documenting everything and putting it in that correct place, because all of this is reported to the Illinois State Board of Education. On the behavior side, again, this isn't all, this is just top. One thing I'll mention on the other aspect, again, the way that incident management was set up and designed, we have specific behaviors, and there are only certain behaviors that are reported to the state. One thing that we are trying to do better with is on that other, kind of breaking that out, because the state doesn't require certain behaviors to be reported to them. There are only certain behaviors, but what we want to know also is that little breakdown. So we're aligning that, again, that MTSS book that we had, that behavior book, to ensure that all of those there are also things that can be selected by our school leaders. to kind of give us that better breakdown so we can track that information and kind of get a better whole picture as far as what are those behaviors and what are things that we need to put in place to support our students if we are noticing specific behaviors.
What is other?
So other is it could be a number of things. On this side, what I see a lot when I read those is students basically maybe going off campus and getting caught that they are going off campus and then receiving that. No, that's not a lot. Am I making things up? You can correct me, Mr. Hall. You gave me a look.
Mr. Hall, what is that?
I have no idea.
That is what I see from my side on most of them, on some of those others, but it is other, right? Again, there are specific things that the state requires us to report out on, and there are other things like I'm drawing a blank on something that may occur in a building that isn't like specifically state reported. We were talking about maybe, cutting class that isn't state reported, like give the going off, getting caught of going across the street or something of, I can't give any other examples. I can get more specifics and kind of comb through that, but that is something that we are trying to better report. Again, that book that was given last meeting, there are a number of behaviors. We want to put all of those within our incident management system. Again, there are only specific things that the state requires that we report out to.
So who's reporting? Like, who's
right.
The person that's entering the 21 different things? Who's the person responsible for entering the 58 different things?
Great question. So we, the way that it is set up in PowerSchool, our student information system, is that a teacher can submit a log entry and escalate that log entry to go to a building administrator, so whether that be the principal, grade level principal, or the dean, okay. Or the principal, grade level principal, or the dean themselves can enter in something into incident management.
So it appears that East teachers then are using this, West teachers are not.
I'd like to.
Right? I mean.
Yeah, I don't know that may be accurate in the case, but.
And I'm not saying anything bad about its teachers, but.
Can I just explain?
Yeah.
Senate Bill 100 requires that we do interventions for students before we do suspensions or in-school suspensions. We now are fully implementing that. We are not, the last resort is that, and so we are working on interventions with the kids when it comes to academic as well as behavioral. We've partnered with several of our community partners that are coming in to do tier 2 and tier 3 interventions. So that is, we have worked really hard to make sure that that's how we're doing. So that is representative of the work that we're doing.
So these numbers do not speak to the same as ISS and OSS. Right, so those are separately tracked, and this is a separate.
Right, so this isn't a.
Those overlap.
I would say that these behaviors are may not be reflected in these. These are because someone can log in something, right, and then it is the administrator that is then saying, all right, based on this description, let's say if it is a teacher one, based on this description that aligns with this behavior, and as a result of this behavior, according to our book, that should receive this action, and kind of again aligning with what Mrs. Martinez was saying is well.
So I mean, for me to understand the way that data is presented, it would make more sense to me to present all of the incident behaviors that were reported, and then from that go on to which of those numbers then resulted in an ISS or an OSS, right? Like so that here's the total number, here's the number of incidences that required intervention of ISS, OSS.
And then we can share
right,
what
and then
we're
we can
doing
kind of see where, right, like I
Absolutely,
feel like I'm looking at it backwards maybe.
No, we can certainly share that at a future meeting and give like the whole picture. This is just meant like, this is the highlight, if you will, but we can go as granular as this board would like, if they would like to receive specific information about then the correlation between what behavior is what action, because that is something that we want to watch.
I think that's going to be important because
sure.
that there are 58 other incident behaviors. For me, cutting class, you were just trying. Of course, there's a behavior possibly that made you do what you did, but and you're gonna tell me that at Proviso West, you only have 2 other behavior, it does not jive.
And exactly, and that's why that book presented last time, we do need to, that's why we have that book, is to make sure that we have an alignment that between each of our 3 schools, that behavior and that action, everything has that alignment, because that book is new to our school leaders. And that is something that we're working with everyone to kind of better align. And that is that important work on that MTSS side too, that Dr. Thomas is helping and supporting us with as well.
And then my concern, Mr. Hall, you're the principal at Proviso East, and you don't know what the 58 other is.
Well, he just explained it. So the teachers do put in log. Everybody puts in log entries, from social workers to counselors to teachers and admin. So we all put them in. We do a lot of documentation. Mm-hmm. So if a teacher puts one in and they click incident, and it probably should have been a log entry, it's going to be counted as an incident. So if
it may not be accurate then.
Right.
So would it make more sense to then present this in like percentages of your population too? Because I feel like this, the way it's presented, really shows East in a poor light, right? And I feel like it doesn't really, it may not be true data accurate. And so presenting it maybe like this, you know, I feel like there's maybe not a fairness in the presentation.
Okay.
It sounds too like there needs to be maybe some training with everyone who's entering data, because if one person's counting a situation as one thing, but it's being entered as another, it's gonna be counted and categorized differently. So I think maybe, you know, for the future, planning on a training session with anyone who is responsible for entering information, we would have more accurate data to work with.
Yeah, develop a process.
We have it with the principal. So we have an incident, and it's 4 students tied to the incident. We don't put in 4 incidents. We put in 1 incident and attach all of the students. That way we don't get dinged 4 times.
Right. And does that help West?
So the admin team knows that.
Right.
And so with the teachers, if they're putting in something, and you know, depending on what button they click, it may be populating that, which is where he's getting the data from.
So it sounds like more training and clarification and
really
making sure,
what means what criteria.
Yeah, and so yes to everything that you said. Again, this is that, again, not trying to paint any, this is the information that is available to us now, and that is why that book was presented last month. And showing this is where we are, and we need that. That's why that book is going to help better align and additional supports with MTSS, working with all of our school leaders around that. So all of this, we basically will be going back over all of that information.
So for Proviso East, drug related is 18, and that West is 7?
Yes, ma'am. That is what is currently in incident management.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes,
where does vaping fall in there? Is that under drug or is that under other?
It would be drug related.
Oh, okay.
So again, that other school improvement plan is around attendance. So I thought it was important to kind of give a snapshot of where we are to date compared to where we ended our SY24, that 23-24 school year, and then the 22-23 school year. So you can see then that average daily attendance piece, a student needs to be in class 6 or more periods. So again, they have 7 classes, the 8th period is a lunch. If they're in attendance for 6 or 7 periods, they count as they were present for that school day. It's a collective of all at least 6 or 7 of those classes. So seeing where we are currently to date compared to where we ended those prior school years, and we want to continually monitor this. That's something that we're working with each of our school leaders monthly on regular, what we call our data dives, and then we also have our attendance meetings as well to take specifically a look at that attendance data and information. On the piece that we are tracked again by the state is the percentage of chronically absent students. So again, if you are chronically absent, that means that you have missed more than 10% of the school year based on what date you came in, based on where we are in the school year. So again, taking a look at where we are to date versus where we ended at. So again, for instance, at Proviso East, we'll start on there for the where we are to date at 37.8% compared to where we ended 57%. We're chronically absent last year. Looking at Proviso West, currently to date, we have 45% of our students are defined as chronically absent, missing 10% or more days, versus where we ended at the number of 76% of our students chronically absent, missing 10% or more of the school year, again with PMSA being 14 and ending last year at 23. And this is extremely important that our students are present in each of their classes. And again, we talked about what it counts to be present. You need to be in attendance for 6 or more. We want you present in all of your classes, but as the state has defined it, 6 or more of those classes being marked present. All right, diving into the academic side. Right now, just taking a look at our core classes. We can take a look at every department, but taking a look at our core classes and then also correlating to our freshmen on track. Again, that freshman on track is that metric, again, we are scored on our Illinois report card. So staying constant and looking at this. And just these bars themselves, we can, and what we do in our data dive meetings, looking specifically, then diving into a department, taking a look at those teachers, seeing where the supports are needed for our teachers, and then diving even more granular into our specific students there. And you'll see later on another slide talking to this. All right, these are the grades for Proviso West. That last slide was Proviso East. Again, taking a look at that spread on how many grades or what percentage of grades in the raw number for all of our students for our core classes. And then we also have PMSA taking a look at that grade distribution for our core classes, and as well as the percentage of students that are defined as being on track for our freshmen. Now, why that is important, we saw attendance and grades. So something that we take a look at, again, in these regular meetings that we have with building admin, that then trickle down into the teachers and the other areas of support. This is what I like and what we refer to as our skill-will matrix. So the skill being the grades that are earned versus the will being how often are students coming to class. So I want you to kind of pay attention to 4 main quadrants. So if I take a look at the top row, the attendance rate. So you're going to see some numbers populate here in a moment, but seeing the percentage of students that are attending 90%, that's that green, versus in attendance 80 to 89%, and then how that is correlating to the students' letter grades, and seeing kind of what quadrant they lie in, because what this allows us to do is provide specific supports based on where that need is, based on the skill versus the will. So whether it's specific academic support, because students are here and present in class but not passing, versus that intensive support or that the attendance support that they are failing but may not and are not coming, versus failing and are here. So if we start first at East and take a look at this percentage here, and we can hone in on any one of these numbers, but if you were to take a look, for instance, on the first column where it says green 90%, again, that top is the attendance. So if I were to take a look, for instance, that number 39 in the bottom left, if you hone in on that number for a moment, that number 39 at the bottom is saying that you have 39 students at Proviso East that are present 90% or more. So they are at school, but they are failing 5, 6, or 7 classes. So the supports that we offer those 39 students that are present but failing, versus if I take a look at that opposite corner now, the number 5, That number 5 is showing that there are 5 students that are not present, they're not attending, but they're passing all of their classes. So that support would look different for those students depending on where they're lying. And every single one of those students may have a different story. Having the ability to put our finger on each of those individual students and tracking and looking at that information, having the conversations with the students, with the parents, with the teachers themselves, all tells a story on, again, what specific supports are needed. So the fact that that the school leaders have this is data regularly, weekly updated, every week is provided, and this is changing every week, allows our team to provide that specific supports that are needed. And if we take a look at Proviso West, we were just looking at that bottom left versus the bottom right. If we were to take a look at any one of these numbers there on, again, what specific supports on that MTSS lens would be needed based on our students coming and what are their grades looking at for each of those students. The last slide, just again, same information, just looking at Proviso Math and Science Academy. Because I like this and because it kind of also dispels that rumor, well, the students are doing well because they're not in class. Well, again, we have a variety of students based on, it's not just that they may be coming to class and failing or may not be coming, and what that looks like and what supports we provide. Because again, each one of these students in each of these boxes, though they may fall in a similar box, may need different help depending on what's going on with them personally. But being able to identify the students and get to that root of what's going on and providing the support that they need is the important part. Now, showing all of that, I want to say to the community and anyone watching, students and parents, our Q1 is ending October 18th. That is the end of Q1. All parents will be receiving your report cards, your Q1 report card, or your progress report, if you will. It'll be electronically sent on October 22nd. So just allowing everyone to know that. And I know that our school leaders will be working with and making sure that our students know that, and also the teachers know that. All right, before I get away from that information, is there any questions on that? Yes, Ms. Grant.
Not a question, but just a reminder, I believe it's still there, on October 24th, 2 days after report cards come out, our parent-teacher conferences, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
It would be, I've seen over the years that attendance at those has increased and increased, and I'd love to see that going. So along with the report cards going out, let's have reminders to parents about those parent-teacher conferences.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Anything else, again, looking at those 3 areas of MTSS, the grades and attendance. All right, we jump into on the action item side. So Dr. Hill, thank you. She spoke about one of those action items. So this next one is that 13B. With the work we're talking about increasing revenue, I'm happy to report that our food nutrition department, led under Mr. Taylor and supported by Ms. Garza and Mr. Gonzalez, a big thank you to them. They attended a workshop, and through that workshop got connected with an individual through this Spark Innovation grant of getting $15,400 to basically support this supply chain viability of what they're noting as pre-cooked beef and black bean product. It's this protein and protein supplement. So trying to work on lowering the barrier to adopting that regionally sourced plant protein food. So big thanks to them and their work, both to Ms. Garza and Mr. Gonzalez, for achieving that grant, in addition to another grant that is up for an action item for the board to accept. In this instance, it's a $10,000 grant to support our breakfast program. Again, just to ensure that our students have a milk, have a fruit and vegetable, a serving of grain, and then possibly a meat or meat alternative as an additional item for that. So again, happy to see that that team is supporting that effort in the business office along with Dr. Walker and all of his amazing work that he's doing on the federal grants and programs side. The next action item is 13D, which is MOKL Consulting Partnership. This has been now continuing this that we've had starting in spring of 23-24 at Proviso West, supporting our young female students that need that extra layer of support that was in spring of 23-24. We also utilized Dr. Champion for our summer 2024 program, focusing on our freshmen, providing some support to those students. So all of this is work around mental health services and conflict resolution. This has been a big help. We want to continue this partnership, and this is funded through our AWARE 2.0 grant. Next action item that you have is an MOA, Memorandum of Agreement with our Proviso Teachers Union. So the union and district agree that having clubs and activities are a benefit to our students. So it is written inside of the collective bargaining agreement that if a club is piloted for 1 year, and then they've established that there is an interest, that students are attending and they are meeting, that club can then be a paid stipend. So that first year is piloted, unpaid, and then any subsequent year can then be adopted for a paid stipend. And it's important to note that coming up soon this week is also in the collective bargaining agreement new is forming a committee where 5 employees from the administrative side and then 5 employees from the Proviso Teachers Union are meeting specifically to address possibly looking at restructuring the stipends, looking at those job descriptions, what are the expectations, and the evaluations for all clubs and activities. I think as we've discussed in numerous meetings that we don't feel that we have a good handle on that, and that's both agreed from both sides. This was something that was bargained in agreement on both sides, that we do need this kind of a close look at all the clubs and activities to kind of establish some consistency. So that is something that's scheduled to begin this week. Again, thank you to Mr. Bryce, who's leading that from the administrative side, and Ms. Michaela Soto on the PTU side. So the MOA is for 4 clubs that you will see inside of your board packet. All right, next couple items are on the information item side. So first talking about is 16B. So with 16B, we're taking a look at graduation requirements. So for instance, if you recall, we voted with the class of 2029 to institute 4 years of math at Proviso East and Proviso West. As a result of having that extra math class, we need to take a look at possibly increasing the number of credits that students need for graduation. So we have that. We also have an upcoming requirement by the Illinois State Board of Education where it's requiring 2 years of a world language. That is not something that's written into our current graduation requirements, but it is mandated by the state of Illinois. And that's beginning with fall of 2028. Elective credits not necessary to fulfill the minimum graduation. No, fall of 28, sorry. What we were looking at, not only increasing the number of years of math to 4 for East and West, but we do want to try to get ahead of this Illinois State Board mandate and also take a look at putting those in our graduation requirements to get ahead of this. So the recommendation is taking the number of credits from 22 to 25, because we would be asking, and it's kind of more defined in the board packet on the specific information item, looking at also incorporating that world language component so we can begin to get ahead of the hiring, because again, this is going to be a statewide mandate. We know that we have a difficult time finding teachers. We want to be ahead of this before everyone else is also looking for world language teachers, because we're going to have to increase the number of students taking classes, therefore we're going to need more teachers. I believe it is advised, and the team is agreeing too, that we want to start beginning to look for those now, rather than waiting and being behind the curve on that. Next information item is around the course catalog. So we are getting close into our scheduling season, even though I feel like this school year just started. we are taking a look at the next school year, the 25-26 school year, and we're looking at scheduling. So that scheduling season, if you will, is beginning very soon, if not some discussions I believe are being had at the building levels right now. So in order to do that, we need to present what are the course offerings and updated course descriptions. So we regularly update this yearly. We've gone through and done that. So some, again, of the highlights here, just looking at our course descriptions, updating those. We've had a lot of continual updates around our dual credit, dual enrollment, dual degree, and making sure we're staying on top of that. We are also looking at taking out the AMP, known as the Accelerated Math Program courses. So it's a fine nuance that we won't go into now, but taking a look at another opportunity for our math and science academies, looking at their 5 years of math. AMP was one option to get to those. We're finding different opportunities for fulfilling those 5 years. And then also we're finding our science courses on the instructional side. So that would be our special education and EL side. We did have physics in there. We weren't seeing many students taking physics. So we are refining that selection to biology, chemistry, and earth science. The last update around the course catalog, something that's exciting coming from a workshop attended by Mr. Valente, is our AP African American Studies. We haven't confirmed it, but we believe we may be one of the first schools or districts in the state to be offering this the following school year, or at least the first ones to kind of get on board and offering AP African American Studies. So we know that the board, within the past several years, implemented that African American history aspect as far as the graduation requirement. This is another opportunity for fulfilling that requirement. We're excited about this course being offered and going to be, again, one of the first ones within the state to offer this course. So there will be training for it, again, from the College Board, but we're excited about this course offering entering in our course catalog. All right. We do have an upcoming committee meeting, which is led by Secretary Barbahan. This is our Parent and Community Engagement Committee meeting. The last meeting that we had was kind of a joint effort between Finance and the Parent Engagement Committee. We're encouraging all members to come out. We're going to have some great information that was previously shared, but shared again, and some additional information around our career and technical education in early college. So that is going to be Tuesday, October 15th at 5:30. Right here in the Math and Science Academy in the library.
Engagement spelled
Yeah, that need a letter there. All right, thanks, sir. On that CT and early college side, just making sure that we're updating you on dates and deadlines. This is something that we always have to pay attention to because a lot of our partnership that we have with Triton, we have dates mandated by them to fulfill their own requirements, so trying to stay on top of that. So we have dates in November coming up and December that we have is in addition to the parent and community engagement, spelled correctly, meeting on the 15th that we just mentioned. Next, an update for everyone. We do have an upcoming teacher recognition event, recognizing those teachers and staff and any employee of the district that has been with the district for 20 years or more, recognizing them this Friday at Drury Lanes. We're excited to recognize and support our teachers in that upcoming event.
I have a question on that. So if you've been here 15 years, you're not included?
So yeah, this event, based on the action item that was approved by the board and the number of...
I'm just trying to find out who gets to come.
Yeah, it is just those that are 20 years and more based on the number of teachers and what the action item that was approved for that dollar amount to make sure that we had the seat count and the number of plates. We are recognizing any individual in the district that has been here for 20 plus years or more, and then looking at different avenues to celebrate all of our teachers in the 5, 10, 15 years, those big milestones throughout the district. All right. holiday basketball tournament, December 23rd, December 26th, December 27th, 28th. A lot of work has been done, not only from our interim athletic director, Mr. Lamont Bryant, who came on to help this, also Cyrus McGinnis, the athletic director for Proviso West, and Calvin Davis, the athletic director at Proviso East. We have all of our teams lined up, and this is a huge production, as everyone knows, but something that the community and everyone does look forward to every year. This is the 63rd annual, so again, we're very excited about that. So everyone save that date, mark the calendars. Very excited about this event coming up. And that concludes the interim superintendent's report. Thank you very much, Brian.
Mr. Ashok, can you just give us the information, Adam, or you want to go in order?
I think we hit most of them. Let me see what I didn't hit.
Okay. Oh yeah, we did the tax levy, Nehemiah project.
Yeah,
we actually did all of them.
Yeah, the only item that I did not bring up but that we can discuss is that Press Plus 116 update. It was an information item last month, and it is coming up for a second reading this meeting. So we can certainly talk about any one of those, but there are a number of updates. So I did not make a slide, but we can discuss if there's something specific.
All right, with that being said, President's report. I could sit here and defend myself from everything with this that was just said to my left in front of me, but I'm not going to do that because I'm better than that. Pretty much, I just want to let you know that before I became a board member, I really didn't realize how difficult it could be. I served my community with all my heart, making the right choices, almost losing my family to stay involved and fix the district for our students. It's been a bit difficult. Well, if I'm being honest, it's been very difficult. You see, you could make people happy some of the time, but you can't make them happy all of the time. But when it comes to doing what's right for kids, you have to step aside your ego, your friends, favors, jobs, all of that, because it's about our kids, especially this district. All of my kids went to this district, all three of them, and I still have one in Proviso East. My interest is invested in this district. So when I vote, when I do something, I do it for the students, because guess what? I was a student here, my kids were students here, my wife was a student at West. I have a vested interest here, people. Community, administrators, board members. Let me ask you this question and I'll finish. Next time you look in the mirror, look deep into your soul and tell me who you really are. Better yet, tell yourself who you really are. Because what we sow in life, we will also reap. So please do the right thing next time you are confronted with yourself. Do the right thing. People have been asking about the superintendent search. 3 board members to my, I'm not saying these 3, right? But 3 board members to my left said no to Mr. Mohib, and 3 board members to the, 3 board members to the left said yes. And it was up to me, Sam Beltieres, board member, it was up to me to make the vote. Now, a community member said, Mr. Ray, I'll call you out. He said, Sam, are you listening to your community? Yes, I am. Yes, I am listening to the community. But if you're going to make me accountable, if I'm going to make my superintendent accountable, if I'm going to make my major accountable, let me do what I think is going to work. Let me do what I think is going to work. If not, you know what? When this district fails, you fail, not me, as a board. Guess what? The teacher's contract, I didn't vote for the teacher's contract. I didn't want it. But guess who had to sign it? I signed it. Because we're a collective board. What happened? If I sign something, that's the whole board talking. I say nay, and everybody has said yay. I said nay, but you know what? As a board member, I had to sign the contract because we're one board. You understand? A bunch of people came here, some mayors, and with all due respect, mayors, They do not represent the whole community. 8,000 people voted for me. 8,000. Was it 10%? No. 800 people didn't come. Was it 1%? No. 80 people didn't come. It was 0.001%. So when you say the community came out, some of the community came out. And if you don't like what I'm saying, then you gotta walk. You gotta knock on doors. You gotta do your job. Right? But, community, you cannot make me accountable if you do not let us do what we think is right. Let us be accountable. Hold us accountable. Let us do what we think is right. I was 80% sure last time. 80. We always bring this race issue up. Black, Latino. You see any Latino administrators here? You see me screaming out, hey, where's my Latino? Oh, you guys are racist? Where's the Latino administrator? No, we hire the best. We hire the best. Latino or not. Black or not. White or not. We hire the best. And that's what we do here. Hold us accountable. Sorry, Mr. Rivera, this is not back and forth. Yeah. So hold us accountable, community. Hold us accountable. Let us do the right thing. Okay? And we're not racist. I'm not racist. Okay? If I was racist, if everybody else would have been racist, they would have voted for the Latino candidates, but they didn't. All right? It's Sandra. Well, I'll leave it there because I said I wasn't going to go there. But anyway, I'm going to say this, and I'll end with this. And this is nothing to do with the community. This is about something's going to happen tonight. Whatever happens, young man, this man sitting here today was a gangbanger. They came to Maywood because all his friends got killed. But yet I sit here with a master's degree as a director of the largest solar company in Chicagoland, Cook County, as a process improvement for the company, with people under me. So the next step for you, depending on what happens to you today, you will get your GED and you will get a doctorate. That's what you're gonna do. You're not gonna go to your house, go to your bed, and be depressed. You're gonna get up, go get your GED, go to Triton, go to get your bachelor's, your master's, and get a PhD, and fight for kids. They're gonna make mistakes. Did you hear that? I don't know if you hear, but please listen. Okay? Thank you, President's report. All right, great. Thank you, Jenny. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the September 17, 2024 Board of Education's meeting as presented?
So second.
Jenny, please call the roll.
Mr. Alexander? Absent. Mrs. Hickson?
Aye.
Mr. Ocampo?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson? Ms. Grant?
Aye.
Mr. Beltieres?
Aye.
Ms. Barbahan? Aye. Motion carried.
May I have a motion to approve the October 8, 2024 bill list as presented?
So moved. Second.
Jenny, please call the roll.
Mr. Alexander? Absent. Mrs. Hickson?
Aye.
Mr. Ocampo?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson? Ms. Grant?
Aye.
Mr. Beltieres?
Aye.
Ms. Barbahan? Aye. Motion carried.
I got it. Should I do 13 over now?
No.
No, that's fine.
Just 12 seconds.
14. May I have a motion to authorize the appointment, employment, resignation? First of all, do you want to pull in? 13.
But
Oh,
you
okay.
start here and read A, B,
Got it.
C.
May I have a motion to approve, the consent agenda? A, approval of eliminate financial consultant agreement. B, Lake Michigan School Food Systems Innovation Hub. C, School Breakfast Program Expansion Grant. D, MOKL Consulting Partnership. And E, MOA for activities.
So moved.
Second.
Jenny, please call the roll.
Mr. Alexander? Absent. Mrs. Hickson?
Aye.
Mr. Ocampo?
Aye.
Ms. Patterson? Ms. Grant?
Aye.
Mr. Beltieres?
Aye.
Ms. Barbahan? Aye. Motion carried to approve 13A, 13B, 13C, and 13D and 13E.
Great, thank you. Any items to pull from the personnel report? Okay, hearing none. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
No, 14.
Personal approach.
I'm sorry. May I have a motion to approve the wrote this today. May I have a motion to approve the personnel report and employee count?
So moved.
Second.
Jenny, please call the roll.
Mr. Alexander, absent. Mrs. Hickson.
Aye.
Mr. Ocampo.
Aye.
Ms. Patterson. Ms. Graham.
Aye.
Mr. Belteros.
Aye.
Ms. Barbahan, aye. Motion carried.
May I have a motion to authorize the employment resignation?
This one. So read it right.
So roll and then go to the top.
Yep.
May I have a motion to approve the administrator's recommendation to expel student 2024-001 for 1 calendar year, October 9, 2024 through October 8, 2025, due to gross disobedience and misconduct addressed in the hearing officer's October 4, 2024 written report.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Discussion. As I said before, when I became a board member, I came here for students. I was one of these students here. I was actually this student when I was in high school. And it was not a good thing. But regardless of what my thoughts were, I always promised myself to do the best for those students that were in these kind of troubles. I don't know if Senate Bill 100 covers this or if he was approached with that intent of applying Senate Bill 100, but you know, it comes close to heart because it reminds me of who I was. But just want to tell the student that no matter what happens, how we vote today, it's not over. Go get your GED, go to another school, and just graduate and keep going. It's just a lesson learned, keep pushing forward. That's all. Jenny, please call the roll.
Mr. Alexander, absent. Mrs. Hickson.
Aye.
Mr. Ocampo.
Aye.
Ms. Patterson. Ms. Grant.
Aye.
Mr. Belteros.
Nay.
Ms. Barbahan, aye. Ms. Patterson.
Let me have discussions here.
Discussion. Go ahead.
As a parent-student advocate, these things become most difficult. Sometimes kids do things, they don't know why they do them. But with the amount of credits that you have, I cannot. I can't. I will go home and sleep perfectly fine tonight, put you on the street. You're that close to graduation. But I will say to you, whatever you do moving forward, think about it before you do it. Okay? I would be a nay for that.
Motion carried.
Yes, please read the FOIA report.
FOIA report. Proviso Township High School District 209 received the following FOIA request. September 13th, 2024, Bruno R. Morasso Law Firm, Romanucci and Landon LLC, represents Carol Hernandez Morales regarding potential claims stemming from an occurrence on 5/2/2023 at Proviso East High School. Requested information related to any and all documentation of the above referenced incident, including, without limitation, any and all investigative reports, documents, photographs, notes, statements, videos, service requests, logs, maintenance records, repair records, complaints, records of previous falls or accidents, bids and or agreements for concrete work, etc. Regarding the sidewalk and or curb pictured below and or its surrounding area, this is in process. September 16th, 2024, David Ocampo requested the disciplinary records for both Claude Brown and Keith Williams. Response provided. September 25th, 2024, Jennifer Lavash requested all records, expenses associated with credit card ending in 611 for travel expenses on Southwest Airlines on June 17th and June 23rd, 2022. Include all names on boarding passes, include all communication between Lillian Shepherd and Dr. Henderson during those dates in process. September 26, 2024, Nicole O'Connor requested all records expenses related to NABSE in December 2022. This includes airfare charged to the credit card ending in 8111 that happened on October 14th, 2022, and hotel expenses to the Westin Hotel on December 2nd and 5th, 2022. Include all names on boarding passes. Please include communications from Tiffany Jenkins to all board members between October 14th, 2022 and November 30th, 2022. That is in process. September 26, 2024, Walter Brzezinski, requested complete employee and board member file for Abdella Hayes Nee Patterson, response provided. October 2nd, 2024, Tashonda Shumpert, requested to know what company you are currently using for custodial janitorial services. Secondly, she'd like to know when the district plans to release its next request for proposal, RFP, for custodial janitorial services. Finally, she's requesting copies of the 6 most recent invoices, as well as a copy of the current contract for custodial janitorial services for the Proviso Township High School District 209. That is in process. That concludes FOIA.
Any old business?
I have something, Sam. I've become quite popular. To the attorney, any documents that you release with my name on it, I would like to have a copy of any and all documents released dealing with me. My other thing is, people, it's election time. I don't do dirty politics, never have, never will. I don't have to, because the people will vote, they will speak, you will either vote for or you'll vote against, period, that's it, that's all. But I don't do dirty politics. Anything you want to know about me, especially some of these names that I see, just ask, I'll tell you. In reference to the superintendent search, where I was part of the search with Mr. Valterez, there was one thing agreed upon, which was to be 2 final candidates. I received a call from Mr. Valterez that said he wanted to, at one point, make it 4, and then he wanted to make it 3. And I said, you can't change in the middle of the game, because that we agreed to 2. There was a letter went out to 2 of the finalists. I knew nothing about that with my name on it, and I did say earlier to rescind that. I have not heard much more about it. Next thing I know, there were dates assigned as to when these matters would take place, and that it would be now 3 candidates. I am unapologetically Black, and I will continue to have the courageous conversation when it comes to African Americans. I'm not backing down. Folk may not like how I present it, but I'm just going to talk about what I'm talking about. There were qualified people. I think, as Ms. Hickson stated, we should wait at this point, at this late state in the game, and maybe have better candidates come forward. It should not be this difficult to pick a superintendent, because right now, we this board, if I like them, they're not gonna like them. If they like them, I'm not gonna. So we're playing with children's lives. And for me, it's about students. One may say whatever they so choose. But your faculty, your staff, and your students, when there is no leadership, and no disrespect to you guys, when there's no leadership at the top, it trickles down. It just does. And I think we need to put this on hold and let the next board decide who the superintendent will be, whoever sits in these seats. As Sam stated, it is very difficult to sit in the seats here. But the people voted for us, and I'm going to represent the people to the best of my ability. I think Mr. Valterez thought that I was angry that he was picking Mr. Mohib. Mr. Mohib has come before us. He was voted on, and then his contract was voted down. So why bring him back? I'm going to ask you, attorney, Mr. Mohib worked for the Illinois State Board of Education. I believe he was the person that overseeing the ESSA program and assigned what schools get what money. There's a such thing called procurement revolving door prohibition, which means if you have worked for the Illinois State Board of Education for a certain period of time or within the last year, 2 years, and you granted money to a school district, you can't work for that district. I'll send you the code, but just take a look at that. And so I want us to be extremely careful with that. It's called procurement revolving doors restriction prohibition. And that's pretty much all I have to say. Just June 24th, he was a finalist in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. July 6th, he withdrew being the finalist because he said he had another job. We deserve the best too. And I don't know him. I don't know if he would be the best. From what I've seen and compared to what have come before him, they're better. Yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you, Doctor.
I'm gonna try to pull this code up for you, sir.
Any old business? Anybody else?
You got it?
New business?
I don't know if it's really old business or new business, but I just want to respond to the idea that the community is saying we rejected, the candidate. And we held 3 community sessions, and all 3 candidates came back with glowing reviews from the community. So I think it's unfair to say that the community is saying no, but the community did respond very positively to all 3. And especially 2 did, I think, get higher praise. And the community was very excited, I think, about all 3. So I think it's a little unfair and a little bit tarnishing of his, his career to say that the community rejected and the board's pushing anyways. I think it would be, I just think it should be said that the community did give very, very positive feedback to all 3 of our final candidates with the HYA search. So.
I'll finish with this. There's nothing in the dark that's not going to come to the light. So thank you. Can you please call the roll to adjourn?
Mr. Alexander, absent. Mrs. Patterson.
Aye.
Mrs. Hickson.
Aye.
Mr. Bethel.
Aye.
Ms. Barbahan, aye. Ms. Grant. Aye. Mr. Ocampo.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned.
And 8:50. Wow.
30 minutes of time. 31.